everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Research Works podcast. We're here at EACD Galway, Ireland 2026. I hope you've been enjoying all the episodes. Funnily enough, I've just given instructions for Hercules Lecce on the other side here of the recording to get me some carrot cake or chocolate cake or something like that. Really exciting. Thank you, Hercules. We have been talking about some great topics, some beautiful studies, research that are now being implemented into real-world practice. And when you think about real-world practice implementation, I don't know about you, but I know I think about our guest that's on the show today, Nora Shields. How's that as an intro?
Oh, thank you, Dana.
Congratulations on your award.
Thank you.
How incredible. And you just said it's really beautiful to have this on home ground. So this is homeland.
This is homeland, yeah.
When's the last time you were here?
Oh, last year. So I try to come back. Yeah.
How nice to be able to have the award right here. What a privilege.
Very special. Yeah, very chuffed, really chuffed. I mean, it's always lovely to get something like that, but it's even more special because it's happened in Ireland.
Oh, that absolutely is amazing. I was really impressed because a few Irish physios came up to me about an hour ago. Sounds like I'm about to say a joke, but I'm not. But a few Irish physios came up to me and they said, have you tried to pronounce any words here like in Irish? I'm like, no, because I'll be no good at it. But I noticed in your talk, you were able to do it very easily. So that was nice. I think you're the first person I've heard that seamlessly
integrated. Well, yeah. I have a lot of Irish in my background, so it's kind of one of the reasons I used to come to Galway, you see, as a teenager, is this place called the Gaeltacht.
Okay.
And the Gaeltacht is an Irish-speaking area, and so it's a bit of an Irish rite of passage for teenagers to go off to the Gaeltacht for 3 weeks during the summer to kind of brush up on their Irish before they go back to school. So yes, I used to come to Galway for 3 weeks every summer to come and speak Irish and learn Irish. So
amazing.
Yeah.
Well, this makes it even more special. Look, Nora, I've been given strict instructions from many people to make sure I speak with you. And I've wanted to speak with you anyway because the work that you've been doing in FitSkills is now known all over the world. It's pretty incredible. It's because it's meeting a real need. And we spoke back in Slovenia in 2023 about it. And I feel like since then it has continued to evolve.
Yep.
I want to talk about all of that, but I think we've got also a lot of new listeners and who may not know about the journey of FitSkills. I know it's a big story to tell in just a few minutes, but do you mind just summarising a little bit about how FitSkills came about, when it started and how it's evolved to where it is now?
Sure.
Big question, I know.
And I will tell you though, is because one of the things, so in some of the sessions we did a mini symposium on FitSkills here at the conference. And I do say at the start that, I'm going to tell the story, but I'm going to tell the short story of it. But that the longer story is in some podcasts. And so I reference research work. So, there might be, if anybody wants to go back to Slovenia. It
still gets listened to. I do see it still gets listened to. It's great.
So there is a bit more of the story there. But essentially, it kind of all started out as a very small honours research project where I was interested to know why young people with Down syndrome weren't physically active. And so we had an honours student and she went to talk to adults with Down syndrome and their families and their support workers. And actually that small study seeded so many big ideas.
Wow.
Because essentially they told us we need somebody to exercise with.
Yeah.
And so at the same time I was coordinating the pediatric physio curriculum at La Trobe.
Very convenient. That's good.
Yeah. And so the graduate research or the graduate data from the program. So we collect data from students sort of a year after they've graduated to kind of look back at the course and say, well, what was good? How was it? How was it? What was good? What wasn't so good?
Yeah.
And what they told us was, we want more experience working with young people. It was very difficult at that time to get pediatric placements.
Right.
And so students were asking for pediatric placements. And so here I had was one group of people who needed somebody to exercise with, and I had another group of people who wanted to spend time with young people. And I thought, would happen if you put a physio student in a gym with a young person with disability? And that was so we just decided to give it a go and see what would happen.
I love that as a story. And I mean, I know you've told me this before, but I still find it really exciting that an honours project can lead to this. Because what a great way, one, to get involved in research. If people are umming and ahhing about it, hey, look what could actually happen. And don't look down on an honours project. Like, you know, for researchers and people put the call out, hey, do you have an honours project? Put an honours project out. This is really great.
Well, it's really funny you should say this because after the ResearchWorks podcast came out, the student, who's Jess Pascoe, she was Jess Mahey at the time, she didn't know that story. So she heard that on the podcast.
Wow.
And she told me later off, she said, I was listening to it and I hadn't realised that. And she said, I got quite emotional that's kind of, what happened.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. It's really wonderful where that's come about. And, you know, so you fast forward, it's nearly 10 years. Has it been?
Yeah.
Has it been?
Oh, it's been, probably closer to 15 at this stage,
gosh.
I'd say.
Okay.
Well, the FitSkills trial. So we got the NHMRC grant in 2016. We knew it was awarded in 2016.
Yes.
So like that's 10 years ago now.
Oh, jeepers, it is.
Yeah, it's 10 years ago. And we're still writing papers on it. So that research to practice gap, is in part because of implementation, but it's also part because it takes so long to actually get all the data in and analyse it and write about and think about it and write about it.
That's right. Yeah. And it wasn't a small study. You had a lot of participants involved. Yeah. Which is the power of it, wasn't it?
Yeah, and in fact, like, I hate saying it's the largest or whatever, but it is certainly in the disability exercise field, it really is a large study. Like most of the studies kind of up to that point were much more small scale. Like even the other randomized controlled trials that we did to sort of feed into FitSkills, like, you know, they had 70 people in them, just under 70 people in them. So to kind of go up to that sort of large scale trial, like it really was a sort of a step up in terms of,
And was that ease of recruitment? Was it just like, obviously it was power samples as well and power calculations, and how did you get such high numbers? And does that...
The team, no, in all, with due credit for credit's due, it was the team. The team worked really hard to recruit people, and it was slow. It started off slow.
Sure.
And even when you kind of look at the study, you'll see that, you know, we actually started the trial at baseline with 92 people in the trial, and then by 3 months later, we actually had our full cohort in. But it was just a lot of advertising, a lot of hard work, a lot of people kind of chasing down. And
you do need to do that in the study, eh? You really need to follow it all up, and it is hard work.
Recruitment is really hard. Anyone who tells you any different, they're lying. Either that or they're genius.
And I want whatever they've got. I think we're recruiting at the moment for a few studies, and it's hard work. It really is. It's getting the word out there. We're competing with a lot of different things that are happening, right? So now in the implementation phase, you know, there's always buzzwords, aren't they? And research at the moment, implementation is a big thing. But how great is it that we're now really thinking about just not the understanding of things, but the doing of it in real life? And we just spoke with Dana Anaby, where, you know, real life, real world is a real concept.
It's messy.
That's right. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that, because I feel like that's probably the newest addition since
Yeah. Well, I think that's the other thing about sort of research trials is that when you come to a conference like this and people talk about their work, and you know you've got 7 minutes to tell people, or maybe 10 minutes to tell people And so you're limited in the amount of information you give. So you kind of give the headlines.
Sure.
And the headlines always sound so positive and so like wonderful and, you know, makes it sound all so easy.
Yes.
But actually there's a whole lot of, you know, messiness and problem solving and, you know, kind of just adapting to whatever's happening in the context at the time.
Absolutely.
You know, so it's always nice at this end where you can kind of look back, oh, wasn't it great? You know, whereas from the time when you're in it, it's hard work.
Yeah.
You know? So I always figure that this got to be, you know, at some point somebody's got to stand up and give the, you know, everything that went wrong in this research study kind of a talk, just so that new people coming in actually get that it's
a false impression otherwise.
It's a false impression when you come to a conference and you kind of hear those things. So
absolutely right.
So it's the same with implementation. I mean, it's messy. It's tricky.
I think it's messier even, isn't it? Because it's not those controlled environments nearly the way that you could try to control in a study. Yeah.
And so one of the things about the kinds of trials that we do is that they are in the community. They are in the real world. Now, the beauty of that means is that the step to implementation is that little bit easier because you've already tested it under kind of real world conditions.
Sure.
But it does mean that there's a whole lot of messiness that kind of, you know, kind of that you almost, you're problem solving. You're while you're doing the trial, you're actually figuring out some of the implementation things. You've had to think about that.
So what does an implementation study actually look like? We've talked a lot about what trials look like, things are really controlled, but, you know, implementation is a lot messier, as we've alluded to, and there's different conditions, different contexts. Can you tell us what that looked like? Without scaring, no, do you want to scare us off? No, just tell us the truth. We still want to do more of these, but still, we want to be aware of the realities of it.
Yeah. So it is a different method. It's a different approach. In the case of FitSkills, we did what's called a stepped wedge implementation trial.
Okay.
That sounds very fancy, but when you actually see a picture of it, it sort of makes sense. And really what it means is that everybody needs to be in the trial at the very start of the trial.
Okay.
And then it's like a longitudinal study across the trial. And then you randomly allocate groups to the intervention at different times. So like we had 4 groups and each of those groups had 2 or 3 sites in them.
Right.
And so the first 3 months we had group A get FitSkills and everybody else was still in the control phase.
Okay.
And then the next 3 months we had group B transition to getting FitSkills.
Right.
So now we had group A and B that are in the intervention phase and group C and D are still in the control phase. And it keeps going on. So it looks a little bit like a stairs, like a stepped wedge.
Right.
And then the statisticians can do some very fancy, well, this is the before period and this is the after period. Back 10 years ago when we were proposing this, though, for the statistician, there was no way to do the sample size calculation, as in no standard way. So, you know, when you're doing a standard randomized controlled trial, it's quite straightforward in terms of, but in this case, Luke, who's our statistician, he had to model it. He had to create the modeling. So I think one of the lessons from that is that, you know, the statisticians will always tell you, talk to us early. In this case, we actually needed them to do that piece of the work early because, you know, there was nothing there. There wasn't a method by which to do that.
Right. Okay, so how long did that whole process take then? Were we to add up that, given it's longitudinal?
So it's longitudinal. So everybody was in the study then for 15 months, give or take.
15 months,
was it 15 months? Oh no, it was longer. Sorry, it was 2 years. So we started at T0 was our baseline, and T7 was so everybody did 8 assessments.
Right.
And each assessment was 3 months apart.
Yes.
So that was 24 months all. So everybody was in the study for just for 21 months, give or take, was their involvement.
Wow.
And this was the first thing I learned.
Uh-huh.
So this is a piece of advice for everybody else. Don't make the same mistake. But one of the things that happened during the trial was we actually had, in the early stages of the trial, we had quite a few people drop out.
Right.
And that was because of the burden of assessment. So, part of when I was designing the trial, I was thinking about, well, what are the outcomes that we need to look at?
Yeah.
But of course, you try and sort of pack as much in as you think is possible. But actually, on this occasion, we overcooked it.
Right.
And so people were going, no, actually it's just too much.
Yeah.
It's too much.
Yeah.
And we have to drop out because we can't be doing that kind of every 3 months. So I suppose the other thing is to really thank all of the people who stayed in the trial for as long as they did, because it really was a huge commitment.
Yes.
To be in the trial for kind of almost 2 years and coming for an assessment every 3 months on top of it. So
it's an amazing commitment, isn't it, to be part of a research trial? And these things are not done by us alone by any means. They are done in such partnership with these young people and their families. It's a huge commitment.
Absolutely. And I think and the other thing was that this was a partnership project. So we had community partners, industry partners from the disability sector, from the recreation sector, from the government sector. And again, all of those partners kind of came on this journey with us. And so there's a turnover of staff there as well that you would get. So
which
you're
is real life,
Yeah, which is real life. So you're constantly having just to adapt to, well, what just happens in real life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the list of people who were kind of involved or contributed to the study is quite long, purely because of just natural turnover in...
And what a way to prepare, as onerous as that is from a research perspective, what a way to prepare for its true implementation beyond any sort of study. Is that what you're up to now? Like, where are you up to? Where's the life of FitSkills at the moment?
So it's probably... There's maybe 3 things I'll tell you about.
Okay.
So the first is that one of our community partners is Down Syndrome Victoria. So they've been on this journey, if we'll call it for that.
Let's call it a journey.
We'll call it a journey. But essentially, they have advised and supported me in my research from the get-go.
Amazing.
So those conversations that I have, I'm on my 3rd CEO at this point, so
Wow.
that they have really been honest and shaped the kinds of questions I ask and how I do things. And they really do, they ask challenging questions, but they give honest advice and feedback as well. Great. So I think that's one of the things about implementation is that you really need to work with whatever sector is involved to really understand their perspective and to respect that and to listen to it. Yeah. Even when that's hard.
Yeah. I imagine there'll be lots of hard conversations because they'll have their own industry pressures at the time as well.
Absolutely. So they've been there from the start, and then in 2022 they applied for some state government funding through the All Abilities program.
Wonderful.
And they wanted to take FitSkills because they've been a partner and have been on that implementation journey with us. That they wanted to take it and run with it as a service. Wow. And so they got some funding and they trialled it at a couple of sites. And they also did some co-design work with their membership to really understand how they could implement this as an NDIS service.
Sure. Okay.
And so and that was them doing the work. we helped with the evaluation, and we helped with the sort of more in a kind of a consultative capacity. So I would meet regularly with their FitSkills coordinator, it's FitSkills 21 they call it. Cool. Because that's sort of, they've got a suite of programs, so it sort of fits nicely within that. And you know, I would meet with that person whenever they needed,
wonderful,
you know, kind of advice, or you know, we're thinking about this, what did you do? And I'd say, well, in the trial we did this, or this happened, or maybe think about X, Y, and Z. And so now, you know, kind of 3 years later, they are at 9 sites, and they're both metro and regional sites.
Amazing.
40 adults with Down syndrome. So that's one of the differences that they did. They actually wanted it set up as an adult program because that was a gap in their sort of service offerings.
Sure.
And you know, 48 volunteers. But they've made some tweaks.
Yes.
So one of the things that their membership said, well, you know, the social connection part is really important. So they set up a kind of a gym and dinner arrangement. So you know, people go to the gym, and then they would go out for dinner afterwards. Now that brought in a whole lot of other issues that, you know, they're kind of working through in terms of, you know, kind of healthy meal choices and so on and so forth. But the point being is that for their membership, that's what they've identified as important. That was really important to them. And so, and that's a, you know, kind of, so some of these little adaptations, like essentially the core element of FitSkills stays the same. You still have a mentor in the gym with you, and you've still got an individualized program, and you're working towards that. But there's, you know, other FitSkills participants doing their thing in the gym at the same time. We have this dinner event afterwards, and they also, the other sort of adaptation that they made is that as an organisation, they needed to sort of think about it from a risk perspective. And so, you know, Dan Payne, who's the CEO, will tell you, when they brainstormed, they kind of came up with about 100 different, you know, sort of risk possibilities. And the way they came up with to sort of mitigate most of those was to have a staff member in the gym at the same time. So when we, you know, in the trial ran FitSkills, we left it up to the young person and the student to negotiate the time. So we told them the place, but they decided the day and the time, and they had full control over that. So one of the things that Down Syndrome Victoria have done is that they've got more scheduled sessions. But it's growing, and I think the really nice thing from my perspective is, you know, they're actually going to start to break even on it.
Oh, fantastic!
You know, early next year is kind of when they think. So I think one of the
sustainable service model.
So it will, but they've had to put in quite an investment to get it to that point. And you know, if Dan was here, he would tell you that actually, that the reason that they were willing to put in that investment is because they saw the benefit. They saw what was happening at the other end. And so that then became a reasonable investment. But I think one of the things perhaps we need to think about more as a you know, from a policy and a community perspective is that how do we do this so that organisations don't have to do such a big upfront investment.
And that'll be the key of looking at how it can be implemented across lots of other organisations and settings, and ultimately that's where we'd like it to get to. Well, we can chat more. I'll put my hand up, and let's look at what we can do to bring it to Western Australia. You know, and that's the whole idea of the whole research journey, and understanding all the context. And so we come into this knowing what we might get out of it, you know, and I think it's really important for people to really understand the process that was required, but it was required to be able to understand the actual outcomes and the processes, because it's not just people just going to the gym together, you know? It's more than that, isn't it?
And it's taken, that 10 years to actually get all the different parts of it together.
Absolutely.
And so that was the nice thing about being able to speak this morning is that you can actually tell the full story.
Yeah.
So the other implementation things that are happening, so the second one is that we are going to implement FitSkills in regional Victoria,
Wonderful.
sort of commencing later on this year.
Yeah.
La Trobe University, one of the kind of features of La Trobe is that we have these regional campuses.
Great. Very convenient.
So
Good.
Well, kind of.
Yeah.
One of you'll know this from your own work is that lots of things tend to be metro centric, and it can be much harder to kind of get the same things. Regional families can find it much more difficult to access those same things. And so the focus this time will be autistic young people.
Fantastic.
In part because I now work at the Olga Tennyson Autism
I did see
Research.
that. Yeah, that was a new addition. Yes.
And
great.
But the same idea that we will match each participant
Nora,
with a student mentor from the regions. And one of the things we learned from the implementation trial is that, students from all backgrounds were able to provide the social support the young person needed. So even though most of our students were physio students or OT students or exercise science students, we had students who were from speech pathology and podiatry and health sciences.
Well, I'm sure lots of universities will be very keen to know how this has been implemented and it meets so many needs there. Nora, I feel like I could talk to you for ever about this. But I do want to ask you a final question I've been asking everyone in the podcast so far is what would your advice be, Nora, given this is a very F-words based conference here, what would your advice be on how clinicians can implement more of the F-words into their practice?
So I think it's got to be to think deliberately about them. I think and think deliberately about it from the young person's perspective.
Beautiful.
I think in our day-to-day practice, we often get caught up in our needs as a clinician, and what we need to
get done that day,
what we need to get done that day, and what we need to think about, and what we need to document, and all those kinds of things. That put ourselves in their shoes. What really are their goals and wants and needs, and are there ways of doing this in a way that is real life.
It's great advice. Wonderful advice, Nora. Thank you so very much for joining us, for talking us through the whole life story of FitSkills. To all of our listeners, I hope you really enjoyed that. Go back to listen to the other episode that we spoke about in Slovenia. It's a great program, and it's really exciting to hear about what implementation science is looking like and how it's impacting real life. So thank you again.
Great.
Thank you.
Dana.
And we'll talk to you all again really soon. Bye.